So I'm going to be doing the formulating a research question, and then Ed's going to take over and he's going to do research. So where are we looking? Are we level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8? Level 6, 7, 5, okay, 6, yeah, alright, okay, good. So wherever we're coming from, the most important thing that we've got to do is be very clear about what it is that we're trying to achieve. Scoping it down, coming up with something that's actually going to answer what it is, but it's something we're interested in and something that is entirely doable and clear and that other people are interested in as well, obviously. So to put it all together, we need some sort of formula, we need some way of scoping it down to something that's reasonable. So if we get it right, then it really does guide everything that we do. It will be linking into all of the literature that we're looking at and that we're reviewing. It will have a clear way that a methodology will link into a method that will make it all come together and work, and it will actually guide every step of the process if we get it right. So it'd be nice to think that your research question is the first thing that you do and then everything is fine. That would be lovely. Sometimes it is. Most often your research question is going to come out of your literature review. So it's never too early to start reading. The more reading that you do, the more you're going to find where where are the gaps, bits that really interest you, where there is a method that somebody has done before, or if there's a particular methodology that you're interested in. And so it might be that you start your reading with a not really broad theme, but quite a scoped theme, but that leads you then to finding a much clearer question that you want. So ideally, you'd have it at the beginning and everything would fall in. In practice, normally, it's the reading that is going to lead you to a really good question. Okay, so your problem area, your general field of inquiry. So this is what I meant by the literature review. You've got to find where the troubling or perplexing aspects might be. So you need to actually understand the field that you're looking at in the first place. So getting a really good understanding of your field is going to lead you to a much clearer question. And it will also lead you to knowing what sort of information or evidence is going to be best suited. So, and again, without having the literature review in place, it's very difficult to describe precisely what you're intending to gather information about, because you need to know what's already out there. You need a really good understanding of your field. And then you bring it down to something as concise as possible and as clear as possible. So obviously, you're going to be spending a lot of time with it. You're going to be spending more time with it at level 7 than you are at level 6 probably, unless you can manage to squeeze it all into a year, but quite often a level 7 is supposed to be a year, but it takes a bit longer. How are you doing your level 7s? Here are they. Who's doing level 7? Oh, you're doing level, yes. So, you have a little bit of stretching time on it. Mm-hmm. Ideally, they say, yes, you can do it in a year, but actually other things come in time. Level 7, you can spend more time with it. You're time bound with a level 6 and with a level 5. But you still need to, you've got other things to be doing as well at level 6 and at level 5. You've got other modules, you've got other things going on. So it's got to be something that is pulling your interest in and not that you're going, oh, got to do that thing. So it must be something that you're interested in. But it should also be something that will resonate with whoever's going to be reading it. Something that the community that you are reading about in your literature review, you think actually they would actually be quite interested in this as well. So in that general field of what everybody is talking about, this little bit of research that you're looking at, do you think, is there something in your reading, is there something around where you think, do you know, I think people would be really quite interested in what's happening here, how this is happening. So as well as an academic, I'm also a musician. I focus on sustainability, but my doctorate is in education. So I could do sustainability, education or music. I'd be interested equally in any of those. So if I'm reading and a question comes up, I'm like, ooh, I wonder what happened with cobbles in the Isle of Man in 1860. That would be just as interesting for me as what I presented on earlier on, which is how are the SDGs going on here. So it's finding something that resonates with you. Because also if something resonates with you, you might also already be a little bit a part of that community. You might already have done some reading or have an idea of what's going on. You fit into that sphere anyway. So the reading that you do will interest you for you because you've naturally got an interest in that. So always read first. And be flexible about what you might want to read. So when I was doing my doctorate, I didn't expect, I came across one article in my whole load of reading and I was just totally inspired by this philosophy, this concept, this way of doing education, and it just moved everything that I did along this route. So, and this is what I was saying before, if you're reading about a topic that you're naturally wanting to learn about anyway, whether or not you were going to write a research paper about it, you're actually interested in reading it, that will help give you the motivation to keep reading and digging deeper and finding those little articles and noticing those little details. If you really have just got a broad topic, so I've just taken sustainability, and then you can go, oh, I'm interested in all of it, I don't know how to specify it, I don't know how to bring it down. Then a good way to start is just a simple brainstorm. You know, what am I interested in? Am I interested in what I can do with C, with all of those? What can I find out about that? All of these things, what can I find out about? And then either there's an area that you think, that's what I really want to focus on, or you come up with something and you go, I can measure that. I just see this thing and I think, I can build a research project around that. I can just see that needs doing. So just throwing all of those ideas out there, you never know what's going to come up that's going to interest you. Makes sense. Okay, so where's your attention drawn? Are you interested? How much time do you have? What could you actually accomplish with it? Is it just for you? Is it something that you can share with other people? Are you going to add things into the field? But my most important thing is what information and resources are available, especially level 5, level 6. You've got a limited amount of time. You want to pick something that is a field that's being talked about. There is information out there. There already is data out there. You know, things that you can use. The accessibility of data is just it's the time it takes to have to dig and dig and dig to try and find things that are hidden and not available. It's frustrating. It takes up a lot of time. If anybody was here in my my talk this morning about Ed, like being my partner, has saw me go, there's no data now, where do I go for data? If I go to ask, I move, and sometimes there still isn't any. So sometimes you can take on a project that you think, yeah, that's fine. But when you're actually trying to look for things that you can use, it's really hard to get that information. So before you make a decision that you're definitely going to do a certain thing, just make sure that you're focusing on an area where there are books written, articles written, published data available. It's just really helpful. And then I've borrowed this from, and I've forgotten the name of the person who came up with it, but there's a concept of the 6 thinking hats. That if you go into a board meeting or any sort of meeting, you need to look at things from various different points of view. The emotional engagement, the ability to control it, how it can generate things. So I've taken this and applied it to research. So the first thing is your logical brain. Do you know, is this a project that is totally manageable? So I would put yourself in the position of a really, really lazy student that just wants to just do something the quickest that they possibly can. They don't want to put too much time or effort into it, right? So they need everything there for them. So that is a hat to put on. It's like, how can I do this with the minimum amount of effort possible? You know, and So everything is there for me and can go dum bum 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 in place. Yeah, can I just take somebody else's hypothesis that I found in my little review and go, oh, I'm just going to apply it here, like job done. Somebody else has done the validation, you know, somebody else has checked the rigor. You're just using what they've done and you've applied it to a different place. Good way to go. Yeah? Or to take a model and then just tweak it a little bit. Also a very good way to go. Could it generate something new that's actually really important? That might inspire you. It's like, maybe I'll create a model. Yeah, I'm going to create a model. I did that when I created a model. It was fantastic. This is the way education moves around. This is where all these things go through. And so, yes, you take little ideas of other people's models, but you put it together in a brand new way. Yeah, that is really can be quite inspiring. But it does need to inspire you, obviously, if your heart isn't in it. It might be perfectly competent, but you know, it's not going to be something you're particularly proud of. It's just going to be another academic thing that you do and get marked on. Who could it create something valuable for? So I teach in the business department, and that's just part of the remit. It's got to be something that is pragmatic to be used for a business. It's got to be something that we can take forward that can be discussed with. Ethics. So, how many of you are going through the health and social care? Nursing. Yeah, nursing. Yeah. So you'll know absolutely all about that. Yeah, it's one thing they're very careful of at UCM, because you've got to have it checked. If there's anything else, you've got to take it one step further to get it checked. If you're doing anything in health and social care, you've got your own body as well that will look at it and then will check it. So if there's any safeguarding issues or anything at all, it's going to be properly looked at. Because, you know, the awarding body is putting their name on that, and they're not going to let any harm come to anybody. So have a really good look at your project, have a think about it. You know, if you wanted to do sex workers in Liverpool, it's a little bit dodgy. It might be very interesting for you, but how are you going to ensure that you can do that without putting either you as a researcher in a place of potential trauma or danger, and the person that you're asking wrong questions. So be really, really careful when you think you've got your questions together to make sure that, do I need to ask questions that might cause harm? And I keep going back to that. I keep going back to my lecture this morning, but is there sufficient data and is there sufficient literature? Just, yeah, please. Okay, so every idea is going to have component parts. So little sub bits of your idea. The literature review is going to break down those sub parts as well, so you're looking at all the different facets of the idea that are important to be able to, that other people are looking at in order to be able to generate something useful. The history of the idea, who's been talking about it, when, where, how, when did this first way of thinking come up with? What does, if you're taking a particular word, where did that first come into existence in that way, or has it meant other things in other terms? There's something that you were looking at in research, wasn't there? And we both looked at the same concept, but totally different things.
Well, that happens all the time.
Thingy of knowledge, yeah. What is it?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Yeah, not knowledge one, but it was something like that. But because he comes from a library background where they deal with knowledge in a certain way, and I come from education and business, we were talking totally at cross purposes. So what is the history of the words part of your idea, where people started looking at it from your point of view and be clear about what your point of view is? Who are the main people who were discussing this? What is their methodology for that? So there's a big difference between method and methodology. So your methodology is your philosophical outlook on it. Like the posh words in your textbook are going to be ontology, epistemology, axiology. They're big words, but basically your Ontology is just your philosophy. I mean, do you think things can actually be proven and they are black and white? You know, positivist philosophy. Or do you think that actually in the real world things are more nuanced, and there's probably not a black and white as such, but you know, you'd like to just get an idea of what's happening there? Yeah, so like subjective philosophy. And then underneath that you have your, what they call epistemology. There's another slide that does this better, actually, later on. And your epistemology is, well, how do you think is the best way for you of gathering data? Do you think you're going to get the data that you want by pure numbers? Do you think you're going to get the data that you want by talking to people? And what sort of way of talking to people? How do you think you're going to understand the subject you're looking at the most? Yeah, and that's different for different people. I like things like poverty. You can look at it equally well from both sides. You can just go, this is a numbers game, I need to know exactly what's happening here, there and everywhere. Or you could say, I really need to talk to people about what their concept is. Are they just defining it by money? Are they defining it by deprivation? Are they doing it by inequality? So, we're very lucky here, so we can always differentiate by place. So it's a very nice way of doing things sometimes to look at, see if in the literature review you find something that you absolutely love that somebody has done in Indonesia, say. But nobody's looked at it over here. Nobody's tried those sorts of things over here. Do you know, maybe it didn't work there, but you think it might work here because things are different. So we're placed here, and when you're looking at the literature review as well, you know, you're looking at the different places that they've done their work and seeing if you can find, oh, I can see what didn't work there, or yeah, so it worked there but not there, but maybe there's something else that is there. And motivation, we've covered in the one before. So scoping it down. A broad topic you need quite early on. Like, I'm thinking my students, I want to do marketing, I want to do leadership, I want to do sustainability, broad topic. And then with all the spider diagrams, come up with that niche within your topic. And then there's always going to be a specific demographic to research. You know, so a demographic is like a subset of people. So you could research by age, you could research by job description, by gender, by resident, non-resident, you know, you decide. And a time period to research, just to keep it specific for you. Are you researching what's going on now? Are you researching a time period from anybody that went to Katrina's earlier on? She was looking at a specific time period. Was it 1988 to 1992 or something for one thing she was doing? And that just gives you the structure, so you don't think you have to put everything in the whole world in because you've only got a certain amount of word count. So you can structure it within a specific place. We're very lucky being on the island now, really lucky, as far as being able to tailor it to a unique place. And then we'll look at what type of questions to choose and your motivation. Okay, so almost all universities will have a research question generator. Just put it into Google and pick up any universities, and they are almost always use exactly the same embedded generator, which is this one. So it asks you to pick a topic. I just went climate change, why not? I'm picking any random topic just to show you the process. What's going on there? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's after this one. Yeah. So you've got your topic. I know it's a huge topic, but I know I can pick something within that topic that will be manageable. I know there's going to be material available on climate change. Then I need to then make it into something more feasible, and I want to make sure that I'm not using exactly the same idea that other people have. There needs to be some sort of research problem. Although, as I said, being on the Isle of Man, we do have an original. Narrow and focused enough to be interesting, but broad enough to find enough information. We have to make it original. We're on the Isle of Man, so we can make it original geographically, we can make it original socially, with a time frame, with our context, by looking at it in a different way. Somebody might have looked at it subjectively, we can look at it the other word that has now gone off my mind, it's been a long day. The one with no numbers, yeah, yeah. Okay, so then we go, right, who's going to be impacted by our topic? So you have people, animals, environment, gender, age, profession, any number of different things. So who is it? So I'm going to pick university students, because I have access to university students. So I'm going to go, right, it's probably going to be climate change. And yeah, I'm going to use the people that I've got close to me. So then that little extra focus, causes, effects, implications, solutions. What can I put from that? I've again just randomly picked. I'm going to look on plant-based diet, vegan diet, plant-based diet. Don't know why I picked that. Just seems to fit. So I'm looking at climate change as a big overview. I've narrowed it down to my university students, and I'm going to find out something to do with plant-based diet. So there are already many, many different ways of looking at this research question, methodologically and philosophically. Okay, I have picked this year. Right, so now I'm going to make a question after that. I'm going to use UCM students. So already I've narrowed it down. I've only got UCM students. So I'm not going to be able to do a huge questionnaire and expect to get 150 replies back. So I've already made this a qualitative study, just because I've only got a few students to do with. I mean, there will be aspects of quantitativeness in there, so maybe I get 30, 35, but it's not going to give me a really robust answer. Yeah, so even if you get that far, make sure you need to check with your supervisor that they think that's a doable thing. Okay, so now we're going to pull it all together. And formulating the actual words that you put into it is more essential than its solution, because it is that lighthouse, it is that guiding thing. It will then make sure that everything else falls into place. It's getting that concept clear in your head of precisely what it is that you're asking. It gives that preciseness. When you get the right words in there, you can be very precise. Your audience will then follow the path of the argument and research from reading that, and then they read through how you've gone through all of the other steps, your abstract, your lit review, your methodology, and your findings, and it all makes a complete linear sequence from that very first question that you asked. A non-biased question, so you don't want to be leading it at the beginning. One that you can answer, that is relevant, that is intriguing, that is pertinent to what's going on in the world at the moment, and that is really focused. These are, even at level 7, small scope researches. So you're not trying to change the world. You are simply adding a bit of unique knowledge to a field of research that's being done on this already. People know about these things, they're talking about things, but they have never looked at it from quite the same point of view that you're looking at it. You can add something to it. You can help people see things in a slightly different way. But that's all you're doing. You're just adding that little piquancy of colour of your own. Yeah, you've looked at something, and that's interesting. You found something, that's interesting. Other people can share it and use it. So the main questions: who, why, what, where, when, how. Quantitative ones, numbers. To what extent, how do, what are, qualitative ones. So we want something succinct, we want something relevant, even. So qualitative studies can have a statement like understanding the Help me out with one.
Understanding understanding the issues at play in Liverpool prostitution.
Yeah. Understanding the dietary choices of students at UCM, yeah, that sort of thing. So you can have a statement.
Well, you're going to say Liverpool prostitutes there.
Oh,
Preferences will be an interesting one.
yeah, absolutely. So I'll keep going back to the same words because these same words are absolutely vital. Scoped, focused, feasible. Yeah. Succinct. Relevant. I mean, yeah. But they're all saying the sort of thing. You need to be able to look at it and go, yeah, that's doable. What we don't want is something where you think you are going to take on the world. You know, I'm going to show everything in this one study. You don't have the time to look all of that up. Yeah, all the experience to actually really be able to pick everything that you know is important to that. You need to have been in the field a long time to really be able to draw things in, to get everything in. We don't have infinite resources. You know, and if you're taking on too much, where do you even start? And actually, probably where you decide to start, that's your entire study. Just that little bit. Just keep it very small. Yeah, because there'll just be too many emissions if you try to do too much. My son did that, didn't he, last year? He did very well, but they suddenly went, oh, I'm going to do this, and it was just too big, lots of information.
Avoid spread.
Yeah.
Focus in, not pull outwards.
Yeah. Make sure you're only asking one thing. So it's easy to say, I'm going to study this and this and this. But actually, it should only be one thing. But again, make sure it's not too big. And there's also the so what test. Do you know how many times, I don't know. How many rolls of sellotape do people in an office have out at one time? Yeah, no. So what? So yeah, decide whether you're going to do quantitative, a quantity of, or measuring a quantity of positives. That's the word I was looking for. Yes, no, yeah. Objective, numerical, or are you looking more subjectively, and are you looking not numerically, but just trying to get just what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to go through some quantitative. Am I waffling on too long?
No, you're doing okay. You've got 8 slides left.
Excellent.
You've done 31 minutes.
Right, okay. Right, okay. So you can have a relational question. So what is the relationship of one to the other? So a how or what? What is the relationship between climate change and plant-based diet choices? Yeah. So yes. You could look at how we, as climate change is more and more in the news, is that increasing the plant-based diet. So you're comparing all the horror stories that are coming in from climate change and the uptake of a plant-based diet. Is there a correlation? So you've got a relational question. And then there's a causal question. What difference has it made to plant-based diet choices in students at UCM? Yeah, can you prove that there's a cause? So this is a what? Or a descriptive? How many students who choose plant-based diets at UCM are concerned about climate change? Yeah, so these are, they're the same, you've generated these same things from your research question generators, but you're approaching them with a slightly different philosophy. You're going to get slightly different ways of generating the data. When we look at quantitative things, we can explore. What is the effect climate change has had on UCM students' attitudes to plant-based diets? So if this is not necessarily are they taking it up or not, but what do they think about other people that are doing it? Are they thinking that maybe they might explore it in the future? Has it made no difference whatsoever at all? So yes, you're exploring it. You're trying to find out about it. no attributed bias or preconceived notions of it. Really, although of course, as all of your lecturers will tell you, you can't go into a qualitative study entirely removed. So if you want a purely objective study, then it should really be a quantitative one with a positivist approach. So you can step back from it. Once you go in and you're asking questions, you then have to analyse it, you see, and you're going to be analysing it with your own way of looking at things. So you just say you're doing that. You know, you say, I'm going for this approach, this is my philosophy behind it. I do realise that I'm approaching it with my own thing, but I'm trying to be as unique as possible. You can be predictive. So, can you use information to predict reactions? Are students more likely to be concerned about climate change if they have this right now? If they have a confidence diet? They can be interpretive. Okay, so how does a group make sense of their shared experiences? You can gather feedback there on the behaviour of the group, whilst not, you're not trying to get in there and react. So that's a to what extent question. To what extent have students exhibited increased awareness of plant-based eating in response to climate change? So all of these different ways of phrasing are going to change the methods that you're going to use to collect the data, what type of data you're going to be looking for. And then we're going back to that. So once you've gone through all of that and you've asked all of those questions, then you go back to it and it's like, okay, yeah, if I'm going to ask that question, can I control it? Is what it's generating something new? Does it engage me? Am I interested in looking at it that way? Is it valuable? Is it ethical? Can I generate data? Is there literature on it? Yeah. Good. Choose a broad topic. Read. I should actually put number 2 at number 1. Before you do anything, read about your broad topic. Oh no, hasn't happened that way. You've got to choose a broad topic to read about. Okay. Choose a broad topic. Read, narrow it down. So you're writing your research question after you've done all of those things.
The key takeaway here is read.
Read. Okay, read. read. And then scope your field down. And then decide, are you wanting a quantitative or qualitative study? And write it. Be concise and specific and simple. The research generators are good because they make sure that you've got your demographic and you've got your timeline and you've got all of those things. So it's clear about what you are collecting and what you're not. It's as important to be clear in your question about what you're not collecting as it is about what you are collecting. Yeah, that's it. A clear focus and purpose gives a clear path. Enjoy the research journey.